I was just so shy. I would just lay down on the pitch. My dad would be like, "What you doing? Get up."
Who did you idolise growing up?
Didier Drogba.
Of course.
Come on, of course.
Did you play any other sports?
I used to like scooting.
Have you tried hopping on one like as an adult?
Yeah.
Really?
I still got a few of the skills. Yeah.
You've walked the runway.
And I was like, oh. You need someone to help out?
So your first reaction is like, there's something I could do.
It's not rocket science. It's easier than playing football.
Chelsea captain at 23.
You know, when I first got the role, I found it super tough because I wasn't fit, I wasn't playing. For sure, no one in the building now that knows it better than me.
The fans, I think, can see that.
One person, maybe Billy Blood. He's been here about 50 years.
Do you have any goals for 2026?
It's World Cup year, let's just say that.
All right, so today we have a very special guest on Chelsea Unlocked.
He's captain of the team. He's a leader on and off the pitch. He's one of our own. Welcome to the show, Reece James.
Thank you.
How are you? How are you doing?
All good, all good.
What we like to do is start off at the very beginning. Reece James as a child. How would your family and friends sort of describe you as a person?
As a child, I was very quiet, very shy. I remember even sometimes when I was on the pitch, I would lay on the floor because I didn't like people looking at me. So I just used to like go on the pitch and I would lay on the floor.
Like start a game?
Yeah, I was just so shy. I would just lay down on the pitch. My dad would be like, "What you doing? Get up."
That's crazy because obviously now you're a captain of Chelsea Football Club, so you've got so many eyes on you, but you've taken it well. Like we couldn't tell. We see you're a different sort of animal on the pitch as well. What about your sister? Because I guess you guys must have had like a different relationship. How would she describe you?
No, I think as early as she remembers, we was always playing football together, on the street with my older brother. Before school, after school, whenever we had the opportunity, it was always football related.
Was she as shy as you as well?
No, she's different character to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's she wasn't shy like me when she was young.
Yeah, and were you same for like non-football related things?
Yeah, everything. When I was a kid, I was always shy, reserved.
Did you play any other sports, or because obviously growing up in that environment, two professional footballers, were you always super competitive? And
no, when I was young, I liked cricket a lot. I wasn't good, but I liked it. And I used to scoot as well. I used to like scooting.
Scooting?
Yeah, go to the skate park, with my scooter.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
What, like tricks and stuff?
Yeah.
I remember like whenever I used to attempt it, I just used to swing and hit myself in the shin. So
yeah, that's part and parcel.
I think that was a phase like in that time period where it was like really popular, right? Yeah.
Have you tried hopping on one like as an adult?
Yeah.
Really?
I still got a few of the skills. Yeah.
So obviously, like your dad, you've spoken before about the part he's played in your success and your journey. And he had a UEFA coaching license and runs an academy. How much of an impact did that have on you and your upbringing?
Yeah, I think it definitely helped a lot, throughout my career, because whenever, we used to train in the academy on a Tuesday, Thursday, and then the rest of the days in the week I would train with him. So I was pretty much training, every day. And yeah, the more you play, the quicker you learn and, the better you get. So I think, it definitely had, a big impact on, my career, my sister's career, and helped us, get to where we are.
And how young did you start?
Training?
Yeah. From when you could walk?
When you could walk. Pretty much.
What's something he made you train, or like a habit he instilled into you that's maybe very specific or different to like other coaches?
No, I think it's, all the messages are similar. It's just repetition, drilling it into you so young. And yeah, the more you play, the more you learn, the more mistakes you make, which, helps build experience and confidence.
You've spoken a little bit before about the 20p challenge. For Chelsea fans who don't know, could you explain a little bit about what that was?
No, there was, various challenges that he set out, when I was a kid, just to, try and keep my competitive side there, for myself and my brother and sister as well. And we would compete against each other.
What age was that when that challenge came about?
6, 7, 8,
7,
9.
yeah.
Yeah, young.
And growing up with sort of your sister and brother, like all training, like did that help you sort of dealing with any setbacks, or, if you had a bad game here and there, did that support really, really benefit you?
I think one of the biggest things that helped me probably was my brother. You know, he was 2 years older than me at the time. And, you know, after games, my dad would always talk, you need to, you know, do this. This was, you know, you can do this better. And, you know, so he was, you know, getting the download from the game and, you know, I'm there listening.
Yeah.
So he's making mistakes and I'm trying to think, let me not do that. So, you know, little things like that, you know, probably helped. But yeah, I think my brother doesn't play anymore, but he had also a big impact, you know, because all the mistakes, you know, he made early on, I tried to avoid.
And, you know, as you said, you know, when you were young, you were quite shy. Would you say you're still quite reserved until people really get to know you, or have you changed completely now?
No, I think that, you know, I'm still similar-ish. You know, I do speak. You know, I don't speak all the time. You know, half the time I just, you know, prefer to listen. And if I need to speak, then I'll say something. But no, the ones that know me know, you know, how I am and how I operate.
Yeah. How do you kind of switch off from football, and how does the family come into that?
The family in season's difficult. You know, my sister's on a complete, you know, different schedule. You know, she's training different times, playing, you know, all over England. So it's difficult, you know, to see her. You know, I try and catch up with her games when she's on. And I also now have a little sister, which is, you know, in school. So, you know, usually when I'm around, she's in school. But no, I try and see, you know, everyone when it's possible.
Doing our research, we read about you're big into collecting your art and watches. Is how big are you? Are you super big into those then, or is it?
I go through spells.
Okay.
You know, they're both quite weird niches. And yeah, you know, the hunt to find things. You know, and you hunt high and low across the world to look for something in certain condition, and it's difficult to find. Then it, you know, I don't know. I just enjoy it. Yeah,
so it's more of the chase than rather the pieces.
No. The pieces as well are, you know, magnificent.
Yeah.
You know, the hours that goes into them and stuff like that. But no, it's everything as a whole. The chase, and then once you get it, you know.
What do you like about watches specifically, and what type of watches do you like?
I collected a long time now. Now I prefer vintage.
Vintage.
Yeah, they don't make them anymore.
Yeah.
You know, production stopped. You know, they're hard to come
Old
by.
classics.
Usually when people, if I wore one, people they wouldn't look at it. They would just be like, it looks rubbish. But only the people that actually understand know what it is, and that's what I prefer.
Yeah, very interesting.
Do you feel like sort of like the pieces you collect, whether it's art, whether it's watches, whether it's anything else, you sort of look at those and it reminds you of a certain time in your life, or?
No, because, you know, these things you don't pick when they appear. You know, they could be on the worst day of the year, and you know, you get a great find.
Yeah.
So there's you just have to take what comes, and I just enjoy the moment, I guess.
To get an idea of a bit of your taste, I've got like a few like famous art pieces, and then I'm gonna show you two, and then you just pick between them. Like,
well, which one I would prefer?
Yeah. Let's say you were to hang it up or put it up in your house. Like, which one would you choose?
Okay.
You might have a couple of these already.
You just scroll between. It will be like
one.
Which one would I take?
Is that something you'd actually hang up?
Yeah, I'd hang it.
Yeah.
Depending on the size.
Decent. If you scroll to the next one.
I would have this one.
Yeah, I like that.
Which one was that one? The first one?
No, the second one.
Second one.
Yeah.
Very nice.
You should go to the next ones.
Murakami.
Yeah, Murakami. Have you got any Murakami pieces?
No, I have a lot of his cushions.
Really?
His work is not cheap.
Have you never seen his art before?
Sorry?
Murakami's art?
No, not really.
He's done a champagne as well with Dom Perignon, which you've probably seen.
Okay.
Next.
JMW Turner versus Elizabeth Payton.
No, I'll probably take the landscape.
Classic. And then I think there's just a couple more.
Basquiat and Sloan.
Yeah. Who you taking?
No, I have to take Basquiat. I love Sloan though.
Have you got any Sloan pieces?
Yeah.
Which what do you have?
It was actually in ALD in London.
Oh,
it was in the window for ages. And,
wow.
Yeah.
Did you walk past and were like, I need that?
I need it.
Yeah, I saw it before and it took me ages to actually get my hands on it. But it was, I like Sloan. He's great.
Do you collect like fashion as well as art then? Is that something you're into? Like collect like finding rare pieces and
Is it limited to frames or does it actually come in different
not
forms?
really clothes and shoes.
Okay.
No, not so much.
I mean, you said not so much into in kind of collecting fashion, but you've walked a runway and attended Paris Fashion Week before. Is that something you find like you're passionate about?
That's a good question.
And how did that world open up for you to do something like that?
Of the runway, I know the brand owner.
Okay.
And, I'm quite good friends with him. And I was in LA at the time. And he just said, I'm doing a show. And I was like, you need someone to help out? And he was like, yeah, why not? And then that's kind of how that came about.
So your first reaction is like, there's something I could do.
Oh, I mean, it's not rocket science. You know what I mean? Like, it's pretty straightforward.
Yeah.
It's, easier than playing football.
Yeah.
So no, I just said, let me try, give it a go.
were you nervous though? Like,
Yeah, I was nervous because it's different. Usually with football before the games, you have a lot of adrenaline.
Yeah.
You know what to expect, and then I'm just walking, and there's all these people. It's different, but it was good.
Yeah.
because that sort of like when it came out, it sort of broke the internet because it's like, have you seen it? Yeah, like dressed as a janitor.
Yeah.
So walking out sweeping, like it was quality, man.
Yeah, it was good.
Yeah.
Is that something you do again?
Yeah, I'll do it again for sure.
All right, we'll have a look next.
Next
London
one.
Fashion Week.
We're
I hope
looking
we
out.
see you on a,
Now I'm
on a
hibernating
runway.
at the moment.
Really? So how would you sort of describe your style then?
My style now, I go through phases again. There was a time I was very rogue out there. I'll just wear whatever. I wouldn't really care what people thought or said, and now I try to keep a low profile.
Really?
Yeah,
Okay.
because it's easier for me.
No, too much noise comes.
Yeah,
with
too much
wearing
noise.
the-
So was it like a form of expression earlier, and now you're trying to just find what you're comfortable like wearing?
Yeah, now I comfort. I don't really care what I'm wearing. I
Yeah.
usually wear the same clothes.
Training kit.
Training kit. Yeah.
Do you feel like so like by the sounds of it, you're quite like creative and you like to express yourself in different ways, whether it's sort of on the pitch, like with what you're wearing and stuff like that? Do you feel like there always needs to be some kind of outlet for you? So like, as you said, right now you're sort of, it's more toned down, more relaxed, and you're playing a lot of football and you're expressing yourself week in, week out on the football pitch. Do you feel like that's a thing for you?
Yeah, but I feel like I'm in this phase now. My dress sense won't go wild again, I don't think. That chapter's been and gone. And yeah, I just like playing simple stuff now, to be honest.
Yeah, so it's more of an age thing, like you've matured a bit and
maybe.
yeah, interesting.
And like you never know, in like later in life you find that creativity in like another way, right? Like so it's not in fashion, but you might express it in art again.
Yeah.
And do you sort of look like being in spaces where football isn't the focus then? Like, as you were, doing a runway and stuff like that. Do you like that, being in those kind of spaces? And I know you're sort of close with Lewis Hamilton and Lando Norris, and they're obviously it's a completely different ball game. Do you like sort of stepping away from football and being in different spaces then?
Yeah, I mean, I like to different spaces. Different sports. Usually, people know who you are. Different locations is better. If I go to America, maybe not so many people know I play football, which is better, more peace. Easier to go and get a coffee. But no, they all play, hand in hand, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you're into F1. What draws you to that sport? Because it's
I just
personally,
like
it's only something I've kind of watched recently.
You need to be a lunatic to drive that fast, to start. And what goes into it, the strategies, they have plan A, plan B, plan C, all the way up to, the whole alphabet on different plans, different strategies. And I find it so fascinating and how they have to remember, so much for each race. Yeah, that's what I like.
Yeah, it is a lot more tactical than I originally thought.
Yeah,
it's crazy. It's crazy. And how did your relationship with Lewis Hamilton come about?
I got introduced to him through like a mutual friend. And then, since then we've kind of become closer and, stay in contact with them.
And does it help sort of having like other sort of elite performers to lean on, like those outside of football?
Yeah, I think, a lot of these, people that are, world class in their sport, have similar experiences in, to what I would have, but, in a different sport. But, the overall outlook is, the same fundamentals. So, yeah, I try to, learn as much as I can from, people that have experienced more than me, people that have been at the top longer, and try and take and, make use of that information.
Yeah, because it's super cutthroat, especially in the F1. Like 2 drivers per team. Like if you don't perform, you're out. Like it's a like similar but different environment.
Do you take sort of any traits from those guys? Like, is there anything you adopt and you know that translates really well to football, in a way?
No, I wouldn't say there's any traits that I take. If I'm in a certain position, or, I'm experiencing something, I might reach out to, someone and say, I'm experiencing this, what have you been in this situation before? And basically ask for help, what they've done, what helps, what doesn't help, and bounce ideas off them.
Shifting back to football a little bit. So obviously you had a fantastic 2025, winning 2 trophies. How do you deal with sort of the highs and lows of football? Because obviously in past it's been quite difficult getting out on the pitch regularly, and you've had such an amazing year. So how do you deal with those highs and lows?
No, I think this sport, there's definitely more lows than highs. The highs come very little. They don't come often. You might win 1 trophy in a year. Some players don't win 1 in their career. So the highs are so little, and you just need to, it's easier if you stay somewhere in the middle. If you're playing well, you're scoring week in, week out, just stay in the middle. And likewise, if, you're out of form and you can't make a 5-yard pass, if you beat yourself up, then the next pass is going to be terrible as well.
Yeah.
So you just have to, I find it easier if I'm, somewhere in the middle, regardless on if I'm playing well or I'm not playing well.
So it's sort of about staying grounded, not getting too high and not falling too low.
Yeah, and just don't listen to, external noise. As long as I know what I'm doing and I'm doing everything to give myself, the best chance to perform.
And do you feel like that mindset is something you've had to learn throughout your career?
Yeah, for sure. When you're young and you play, you play well, people talk, you read, you see everything, you hear, and you start to, believe the hype sometimes. And then, when you hit a bump in the road, it comes crashing down and it's like, the world's going to end. But in reality, it's just, inexperience. But yeah, the longer you play, the more games you play, the more you adapt.
Of course.
And how has that adversity kind of shaped your routines, how you approach games, how you approach training? Has it changed as you've grown up, or is it kind of back to the same routine that you grew up with, if that makes sense?
Oh, when I first, got onto the scene, there wasn't much of a routine. I wouldn't say, as I've gotten older and I've, learnt and understood my body more, I feel like, I've tried things, this, I don't really like this, I don't feel good when I do this. And, you keep on chipping away to find things that, I like and I think help. And then, you kind of have a structure, and then, I'm at a point now where I have that. I found what I like, what I think works, what doesn't work.
Yeah.
And focus on them.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And then obviously becoming Chelsea captain at 23, what did that moment feel like for you?
Oh, for me, for my family, it was, one of the proudest moments of my life. It was my dream, to play for Chelsea. As a little boy, just once. And, to play for Chelsea as many times as I have so far has been, incredible. the trophies I've won in Europe and stuff. Yeah, it's been a dream, from the moment, I walked through the door.
And do you feel like you're best placed to understand those demands of being a Chelsea player and knowing what the fans want and how to represent Chelsea as a club?
I think there's for sure no one in the building now that knows it better than me. That, that you could argue, there's older players, that have, been at Chelsea longer than me. But I'm in this team now. No one's been there, and I don't think anyone understands.
The fans, I think, can see that as well, on and off the pitch.
Yeah,
like it comes naturally. That
one person may be Billy Blood. He's been here about 50 years.
How would you describe your leadership style?
No, I think my leadership style is not the norm. Well, not the norm of 2000.
Yeah, what people were used to.
And John Terry is different. Things change. People learn in different ways, adapt in different ways. And I don't think there's a right or wrong. I think people look at him as the model of what it should look like, but I don't think there ever is a model, not in this day and age. But no, I try to, I speak to him sometimes and try to, learn off him as well. I'm still young.
And obviously you've been in the role a couple of years now. How would you say your leadership has evolved over that time?
No, I think for me the easiest thing, and probably where I've had the most growth in terms of leadership, is when I've been fit. When I first got the role, I found it super tough because I had this role, a lot of pressure, and I wasn't fit. I wasn't playing. So to get the messages across to the team and help push everyone was tough. I was trying to find my feet as well as push everyone else. So yeah, I think the moment I've started to play more regularly is when I've improved a lot and come on.
Yeah. Because of that challenge, you said of being captain and not being on the pitch, how much do you dive into like talking to players on a personal level? Like, is that something you do? So obviously a captain will influence on and off the pitch, but like how much do you talk about life outside of football and life outside of, when they go home after training and their lifestyle and things like that?
No, I speak to all of the players, about their families, what's going on in their life, and is everything good and stuff like that. But on what they focus on away from football is their space. I just whatever they want to do. If they want to play PlayStation, there's nothing for me to say.
Yeah.
But I'm always there to try and help. I speak to some more than others. I know I'd like to think I'm always there and try to help them all equally.
Yeah.
And I guess it sort of also helps having that leadership group now at Chelsea. Do you lean on those guys a lot?
Yeah, well, everyone that's involved in that group plays a huge part in the driving force of the team. Because there's times I don't play and they might be on the field to get messages across or raise standards. So now I'm thankful for the role they play as well.
Who would you say you're closest to in the squad now then?
Closest to in the squad?
Yeah.
Maybe Liam,
Liam. Oh, I'm guessing you're helping him settle in.
I mean, he's settled now.
Yeah. And, speaking of Liam, I read somewhere that growing up, you didn't always want to be a right back. You had your eyes set on being a striker. Who did you sort of idolize growing up?
Didier Drogba.
Drogba.
Of course. Come on, of course.
Well, we see it like the way you can bring down the ball with your chest. Like,
Drogba was number one.
Yeah, and that ball striking.
Yeah.
Crazy. Is that what you were on? Like just in the garden, bringing the ball down, hitting the volley, that kind of thing?
I loved him in every way. The way he, always turn up in the big games.
Yeah.
If there's a final, his name's going to be on that score sheet.
Is there part of you now that still is like, I'd love to have a go up top?
No, I don't think so. times have changed.
And now playing a lot of different positions recently, how have you kind of changed as a player? Or what different skills have you learnt, or tactical things?
No, I think, throughout my career I played right back midfield. I played, nearly everywhere on the pitch. So
Not
when
top
you,
yet.
I haven't played up. Nah, maybe one day. It probably links to my academy days. I was played in numerous positions, and as I broke into the first team, played more. I've played a number of different roles, and at the start, it takes a few games to get used to it. But I know that I've played in that position. It's in my body somewhere.
Yeah.
I just
the
need
principles.
to,
and
I just
stuff
need
in
to
your head.
find it and try and get back the rhythm of that.
Yeah, it's crazy because obviously you had such a fantastic game against some of the best midfielders in the world, against Arsenal, playing in midfield, and then you're often sort of marked out as being the toughest opponent that players like Leao or Vinicius has played against. Like, is that just normal for you now? Just sort of delivering at those levels and hearing that sort of praise.
I mean, it's always good to hear praise. Regardless of the opposition, I try to do my best for myself, the team. And I know what I'm capable of. I know the level I can reach, and I try to give my all every game.
Yeah. How much do you study like the winger you're up against? Is that something you do?
I mean, in the Premier
quite a lot?
League now, there's I know most of them. Probably like the back of my hand.
Yeah.
To be honest. The ones in Europe, I don't see them play so often, so it's a bit more difficult. But no, the global names, I kind of know how and what they want to do on the pitch. I watch football relentlessly.
Yeah.
If it's Premier League, Champions League, or League One, I'm always watching football, so I know a lot of players.
Yeah.
And then sort of going up against the Champions League winners in the Club World Cup final and sort of dominating that game and having another stellar performance. How was lifting the Club World Cup as Chelsea captain for you?
Yeah, I think when we arrived, I think the atmosphere was, it was in the middle of the summer, and but I think as the tournament went on, I felt like it grew a lot. Got a lot of traction, and going into that game, no one thought. Well, we knew we had a good chance, but no one externally, thought we would have a chance. They thought the tie was already done. If Chelsea played PSG, walk all over them. But we had a different mindset. We knew that we had everything it took to go and beat them, and we executed on the day.
Yeah, it was amazing. Rob on a previous episode said that like what you were mentioning at the start, it's just obviously a very different environment. We've been pre-season tours in America as well. It almost felt just like a summer tournament. But then I think he mentioned that there was conversations and a bit of a wake-up call in the group stage to be like, we can win this, and kind of raised the levels. I wondered if you were a part of that kind of, like how you as a leader in that group kind of galvanized the group to go, we can win this tournament.
Yeah, for sure. It was a major trophy. Tournament football was different to league football. You kind of, every game needs to be a step forward. They can't really, you can't afford a hiccup. And I think everyone, by the end, everyone understood that that it's go big or go home.
Yeah, of course.
And everyone bought into it. I think that's why we managed to get our hands on the trophy.
Yep, and you definitely went big. Do you have any goals for 2026? Any personal goals? Aside from, competing and winning trophies, like any personal goals for you?
It's World Cup year, let's just say that.
I like the sounds of that. And obviously you've done it, you've won the biggest trophies. How do you sort of measure success like at this point in your career? Is it still just competing at the highest level? Is it still trophies, or is there something else?
The success is, looked at various ways. Winning is, usually the one that makes it the most clear. But, if you look at, where the club has been the last few years, we've probably been in a difficult patch. Last year we won 2 trophies, but before that was, slow on trophies.
Mm-hmm.
We probably went a few years with not much. But no, moving in the right direction, is also success, for me, because I've seen, where we were and where we dropped off to and where we're, building to again.
And, you've spoken a lot about your character, a lot about what success means to you. What would you want, like, a young player sort of watching you or watching this to take from you as a person?
What would I say? One of the key things is don't overthink. I think that's, it kills momentum. It kills a lot of things when you overthink. Always thinking, what if? Just, go with the flow, give your all, and
The
see
rest
where you
will
end
sort
up.
itself. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I think a lot of young players look up to you, and you were mentioning before your leadership style and also just being different to what people picture as a captain. So I think there's a lot of young players that would be inspired by you captaining Chelsea. So it's super interesting.
Yeah.
At the end of your playing career, do you picture yourself staying in football, or would you love to kind of enter another world? Obviously, it's very early, but
getting old. No, I think I always said when I'm done, I'm finished, I'll walk away. I said that from young. When I'm done,
okay.
I've given my all.
Well,
But as time's gone on, my views have slightly changed. Will I stay in football when I'm done? I think there's a good chance I will.
Yeah.
Doing what? I'm not quite sure yet, but no, I reckon I will.
It's a long way to go to then anyway. So
yeah.
time to think about it. But thanks a lot. It's been a pleasure speaking to you. We just wondered, you had one last message to Chelsea fans for us, or?
Just thank you for your continued support. It means a lot, and I hope to bring you more joy soon. And thank you on behalf of the rest of my team as well.